This report provides an overview of the performance of candidates from St. Kitts and Nevis during the 2020 CXC examinations, that being CAPE, CSEC, CSEC, based on preliminary results, and is being presented against the backdrop that a number of subjects were ungraded. Component of the same. Likewise, SPAs and internal assessments could have been submitted but inadvertently overlooked or not processed by CXC. There have been minimal cases where SPAs were not submitted for private candidates, but reports indicate that all requirements were fulfilled by school and college candidates. Feedback from CXC would provide specific details in relation to the actual reasons for ungraded results being awarded to candidates from St. Kitts and Nevis. Candidates are seeking to challenge grades received by utilizing CXC's query and review process. Therefore, final statistics may be impacted. The official release of CXC results is undoubtedly the most anticipated event on the ministry's academic year. Ministry officials, principals, teachers, private tutors, candidates, and parents alike are usually cautiously optimistic, awaiting this defining moment with bated breath. 2020 has, however, been extraordinarily exceptional. Although the unprecedented impact of COVID-19 within the education sector is yet to be supported with empirical data, we are all highly cognizant of the single most important fact that this pandemic has disrupted every facet of our lives and has left permanent scars and unfillable gaps within our learning space. The premature closure of schools resulting in the non-completion of SBAs and other moderation exercises, along with CXC's additional requirements for this year's examinations, were the source of great anxiety. The ministry's intervention to request permission from the COVID-19 task force for exam candidates to return to the institutions to complete all requirements alleviated much of the anxiety experienced. Anxiety experience was also heightened with CXC's highly debated decision to offer a modified approach to the 2020 exams with only two components. Grades returned this year have been awarded based on candidates' performance on Paper 1, which was multiple choice, and school-based assessments, SBAs, or the alternative Paper 3 to SBAs for private candidates. Exceptions to the foregoing required candidates to complete Paper 2 and/or additional components for the following subject areas: modern languages, French and Spanish, human and social biology, music in the practical element, and theater arts, final production. CXC's release of results on Tuesday, 22nd September, has generated much discussion locally and regionally. Notwithstanding, our candidates must all be congratulated for having skillfully navigated the new norm under which they were expected to write the exams. I now give specifics for the Caribbean Secondary Certificate Examinations, or CSEC. St. Kitts and Nevis entered some 1,762 candidates to write the CSEC examinations in 32 subject areas this year, realizing an increase of 101 candidates over 2019. 1,327 candidates wrote exams in St. Kitts, while 742 of whom entered were private candidates, while 585 were students registered across our 7 secondary institutions. Our sister island of Nevis recorded 435 candidates writing CSEC examinations in 28 subject areas. 185 of that total were school candidates, while 250 registered privately. Based on final statistics published by CXC, the Federation recorded 6,342 subject entries for CSEC examinations this year. Although 6,342 subject entries were recorded from the 1,762 candidates, 6,079 were actually reported by the CXC Council as being sat, with 1,464 entries in Nevis and 4,615 in St. Kitts. The fallout of 263 was due to absenteeism. Acceptable grades. Acceptable grades for CSEC examinations are grades 1 to 3. During the examination period under review, St. Kitts and Nevis recorded 5,109 acceptable grades, some 818 more than last year. Are distributed as follows: 1,486 schools in St. Kitts returned 3,143 acceptable grades, while those in Nevis recorded 1,012. Private candidates in St. Kitts attained 724 passing grades, with 230 in Nevis. I must note that Washington Archibald High School amassed the highest acceptable grades, being 829 from 999 entries among schools in St. Kitts, while the Charlestown Secondary emerged as the school with the highest acceptable grades, some 568 from 642 entries there in Nevis. I do note that each school is the largest school on their respective island. Of the 5,109 acceptable grades returned for CSEC examinations, 4,155 were obtained by school candidates and 954 by private registrants, for a national pass rate of 84.03%, as against 80.37% recorded in 2019. So we are pleased to report an increase in our national pass rate this year over last year. The Federation recorded a national pass rate of 86.32% for English A, which saw 700 acceptable grades from 811 entries. This is a slight increase over 2019, which realized 84.15%. There was, however, a marked decrease in English B, which scored 49 acceptable grades from 69 entries, when compared to 61 acceptable grades from 71 entries recorded in 2019, with a pass rate of 85.92%. This year's English B returned a national pass rate of 71.01%. Mathematics returned 503 acceptable grades from 832 entries with a pass rate of 60.46%, showing a modest increase over 2019's 51.06%. Principles of business, office administration, EDPM, physical education, and information technology continue to be popular subject choices nationally, returning remarkable acceptable grades and a national pass rate of over 90% in each discipline. 970 less than acceptable grades, representing 4, 5, and 6, from 6,079 entries were returned nationally. Though a mere 15.9%, this should not go unnoticed, as it points to the need to engage students differently to assist them in performing creditably, as 970 less acceptable grades are 970 too many. The award of ungraded results for CSEC candidates who should have received grades are being investigated, and an update will be provided in a subsequent report. I now turn to the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Exams, or CAPE. 470 candidates were entered to write the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination, CAPE, this year in 27 subject areas across 5 CAPE centers, namely the CFBC, the CFBC Adult and Continuing Education, Her Majesty's Prison, Nevis Sixth Form, and Nevis Private, realizing a slight decrease in 26 candidates over 2019. A total of 47 CAPE units were attempted, 24 Unit 1s and 23 Unit 2s, along with the general education courses, namely Communication Studies, Caribbean Studies, and Integrated Mathematics. In St. Kitts, 341 candidates wrote exams from a fleet of 25 subjects, while 58 of whom were private candidates, while 283 were college candidates. Nevis recorded 129 candidates writing CAPE examinations in 27 areas. 122 candidates were registered at the Nevis Sixth Form College, while 7 were entered as private candidates. Preliminary statistics from CXC confirm that 1,607 subject entries were sat from the registered amount of 1,744 by CAPE candidates in St. Kitts and Nevis this year. This reflects a decrease in both registered candidates and subject entries from 2019. Of the 1,607 subject entries, 1,503 were sat by college registrants, with 492 from Nevis Sixth Form and 1,101 from the CFBC. 98 private candidates in St. Kitts and 6 in Nevis brought total subject entries for this group to 104. Of the 47 CAPE units written, 40 units returned acceptable grades, with grades for 5 units still outstanding: French, Spanish, Units 1 and 2, and Pure Mathematics, Unit 1, for some students. Acceptable grades. Acceptable grades returned for CAPE subjects by our 5 centers are as follows. Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College returned 919 out of 1,011 subject entries. CFBC Adult and Continuing Education Division obtained some 61 of 67 entries. Her Majesty's Prison amassed 28 out of 31. Nevis Sixth Form obtained 441 out of 492 entries, and Nevis Private returned 5 acceptable grades from 6 entries sat. Based on the preliminary statistics provided, the Ministry of Education is pleased to announce that our CAPE candidates returned a national pass rate of 90.48% in this year's examinations. We are cognizant of the issues surrounding ungraded results here in St. Kitts and Nevis and throughout the region, and will allow the query and review process to work. CXC has committed to rectifying those issues, which can be resolved, and providing updated results to all ministries of education. It is important to indicate that the award of ungraded to any candidate could be attributed to any of the following reasons: no internal assessment records or samples received, paper component not received, internal assessment and paper component not received, records and samples received but inadvertently overlooked. The Ministry is aware of legitimate cases related to ungraded results for candidates who wrote pure mathematics, Spanish and French at the CAPE level. While some candidates may have valid reasons such as death in the family or illness for not writing examinations, the Ministry is not oblivious of those who decided not to attempt subjects for which they were registered both at CAPE and CSEC levels, and hence were awarded ungraded. Statistics reveal that other candidates who wrote the very same subjects have received valid grades. The ministry is investigating the legitimate cases and anticipate that these would be rectified during the query and review process, after which period an updated report will be presented. The ministry commends all CSEC and CAPE candidates within institutions in St. Kitts and Nevis who have worked assiduously and finished well. Candidates who did not perform as creditably as they would have wished are encouraged to continue their relentless efforts. Registration for January 2021 CSEC examinations is now open and provides an opportunity for resits if candidates so desire. Ministry stakeholders, including principals and teachers, are to be formally recognized for the commitment, dedication, and resilience exhibited to ensure that candidates were adequately prepared to write this year's CXC examinations. Together, our actions have confirmed that unprecedented times required unprecedented support, and that support was undeniably overwhelming. This concludes my report on our 2020 CXC results.